The Western Melbourne suburb of Braybrook is one of the places where disadvantage is deeply entrenched.
This is a drug war, and I don't like it.
There's little that shocks Les Twentyman on the streets of Melbourne.
Thuggish, moronic, unacceptable behaviour.
People get shot around here for friggin', half a pint of ice.
Around 1:10 this morning, 4 .22 calibre rounds were fired into this Braybrook house.
Les Twentyman.
Les Twentyman.
Les Twentyman.
Les Twentyman. Les Twentyman.
Working in youth work, it comes with a lot of risk, and previously in the early days, I've been stabbed twice, both in St Kilda. I heard this person screaming out my name in the park in Footscray. The next minute it was a petrol bomb that landed beside me. I had to go to a crisis in Braybrook one night, and when I knocked on the door, the woman answered with a shotgun because the previous night a person had been raped. To be a youth worker these days, you really need to be aware of the changing cultures all the time. When I first started, it was sniff and paint. We then rolled into heroin. Now we're rolling into methamphetamines. I've been working in the Braybrook area for the past 35, 40 years. I grew up in Braybrook, Melbourne's western suburbs. According to a well-known comedian here in Australia, Braybrook's a place, if you pay your rent on time, the cops want to know where you knocked the money off from. And when I first started in the Braybrook area, I was told, okay, we know, Les, you grew up in Braybrook, but it's not the same place it was when you were there. My father came from a family of 13. When he came into Braybrook, he ended up starting up a fruit business. On Saturdays, around about midday, all these people come in looking for what was called specs, food that was not going to last till Monday, and so we'd be dishing all that out to the poor families. My father used to give out food, and that's probably why he never lasted as a business person, because he was too, he was more concerned about the welfare.
In a Footscray laneway, passers-by have found a 16-year-old, unconscious, overdosing after shooting up alone.
Yeah, he's alive. He's just alive.
As Les directs others to look out for the ambulance, I can't believe what I'm filming. A young life needlessly slipping away.
Every day, 6-7 times a day, the paramedics come straight up Swanson Street, up one of the laneways. And I've never seen that before. Yep. Only in the last 6 to 7 months it's happened.
Yep.
Before that, you never saw it.
How old are the kids that doing?
That I'm seeing?
Yep.
On the streets, they're young as.
I know it's really hard. I obviously don't know firsthand, but I've been in this game a long time, and I know just how, it's like hell on earth, isn't it? But what we need to do is, if we are able to get you into something, you've really got to commit yourself to it, and
I just want to get off of it. I hate it every day. It's like, if I don't get the money, I'm just going to be like this.
Yeah. One day we walked into the park, and there were 2 Asian kids injecting, and one was holding the other guy's arm for the vein. If they miss the vein, then they can sort of kill themselves and all that. And so we're always trying to encourage kids, if they're going to inject, they should do it, in pairs, so that one can help the other and all that sort of stuff. It was everywhere, and I was seeing 6-year-old kids dealing for their parents and that sort of stuff, and it was a horrid time. But people, including the ex-Chief Commissioner Kristian Nixon, says, let's give us back the heroin days any time over the current problem of ice. It's almost the reverse, but with the same outcome, that is, poverty, gangs, drug cartels, and full prisons. And the deaths that were happening from drug overdoses with heroin, the deaths are now from murders and violence from ice users. I would get a call twice a day. It's generally grandparents about their grandkids that are on it. A lot of them are ringing to say that what are they going to do with their grandchildren because their parents are, their sons and daughters, who are the parents of their grandkids, are too far gone. All you can do is sort of point out to what type of things have happened to other people who have been doing things at the same age, and one of them is about a 13-year-old boy who started on it, and then he and a group of guys broke into a house, and the woman was there, who was pregnant, and they slashed her up. He's in and out of jail, and he's only just 15 since he was 13, and he's a lovely kid, but that substance makes him into a monster. I went to do a tour of regional Victoria. I go to these small country towns and I talk, and one particular town, the whole town turned up, it was amazing because they're all frightened, they're all trapped in this terrible bloody drug scourge. I mean, I had one girl who was a street prostitute at 13. She died on the streets at 18. When I went to try and find her grave some years later, she was in an unmarked grave. So, in some parts of certain cemeteries, there's 3 or 4 kids who have died from drugs all buried in the one plot. What we see of vice users is people who don't send their kids to school because they don't know what day it is, who have violence around them all the time, so kids pick up on post-traumatic stress disorder. We can't arrest our way out of it, and we won't, we can't. I've spent a fair bit of time going overseas to have first-hand experiences with gangs. Spent a couple of weeks there and got to know some of the, as he calls them, the homies. You're looking for what's emerging, and everything's becoming so much similar.
Australia. You better watch yourself around here. This is not Australia.
Jungle,
This might be down under.
This is the concrete jungle.
This is the real down under.
Young people are looking for networks to feel part of society, and unfortunately, we're starting to see the emergence of gangs. How old are you?
Territory. I'm 15.
15? How long have you been in the gang?
2 years.
2 years. How much is crack?
Depends. Depends on what you want.
Yeah, but $10, $10. $5.
You can buy you can buy anything. $2.
$2 crack.
Yeah.
So how many streets do you run?
All around.
Yeah.
We're gonna run the world pretty soon.
All they want to do is get us off the streets, but it ain't happening.
Who's your rival gang around here?
Anybody. Yeah, anybody want problems.
Yeah. What we're going to start doing in Australia is to, immediately look at the problems of, unemployed youth and the family breakdown, and have programs that are going to make young people feel part of society.
The western suburbs. Officially, 39% of youth here are unemployed. Locals say it's more like 60%.
Well, in the western suburbs, you've got youth unemployment between the age of 15 and 19 running at almost 70%. That's a recipe for disaster. For every job in the western suburbs, there are 7 kids that would be applicants for, and so that becomes an issue.
Even people at our age, they weren't really doing ice and shit, but now when you look around, you can see people that are 14, 15 that are doing ice, and you can fucking see it in their eyes. I think it's just the way this place is, there's not much soul here. It's not like other areas of Melbourne where you can, go for a walk down a laneway and just appreciate the fucking art.
Is it hard to get jobs?
Yeah, everyone's racist about that too, If, my mate had to change his name to Matt, it was Mohammed, but because his name was Mohammed, they wouldn't give him a job, bro. He had to change it to Matt, Australian name. It's racist, it's not nice, bro.
All I want to say is these people, they need a mascot, someone to encourage them that there is more to life than just roaming the street and trying to have power. They just have to find what they're good at and do what they love.
When new migrants and refugees come, they whack them in the areas that are hemorrhaging with social disadvantage and youth unemployment. Then you have them saying, they've come in, they've taken the jobs that should be ours, and you often get told by, we've been on the waiting list for 12 years for a house, and these people come in and got them straight away. So that keeps the thing bopping all the time. Money is a big problem about providing services anywhere, but more particularly in areas that have more than their fair share of poverty and youth unemployment. People get branded as dole bludgers, so it just perpetuates the issue of self-esteem. It's $250,000 to lock a kid up for 1 year. I can employ 3 youth workers on that, but we don't seem to go down that line. It's always, let's build more jails, more police. Just doesn't work. We're still too conservative here in Australia. Jails are not switch finishing schools, they are violent places. If you go into a jail, and I was recently speaking in one of the jails where they told me that everyone in there are in gangs, because if you're not in a gang, then you become a victim. So this thing about putting young people into jail to change their ways is absolutely, look, it's just so pathetic, it's not even worth bloody thinking about them. This is a caravan park that's been here for donkey years, got to be about 60, 70 years. I heard someone's bought it and it's going to be a development, but no one really knows. I mean, I've heard it's been getting closed down for 10 years. The people living there are very concerned because they reckon they're all going to be out by January. So once you get thrown out of a caravan park, you basically, you know, the street is the next step. So it's a downward spiral, so to speak. You just got to have a lot of empathy for them, you know. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 odd years, and you think that at one stage this would all be finished, but it doesn't. So, you know, it just continues to go on of one generation after the next generation. I mean, it's interesting, you know, Victoria has just been named the world's most livable city, but, you know, there's 2 sides to Melbourne, you know, a very affluent side, and used to be a bit of a middle class, but it's evaporated. It's really now about extremely wealthy to extremely poor. We're lucky as we've created, our charity has come from the people and worked up, not come down, oh, we're here and this is what we do. You know, we picked up that, you know, back in the early 80s that kids couldn't go to school because they had no school books, so we started up a back to school program. Then we had issues around kids in gangs fighting each other, but we found out they loved playing basketball, so we started up a basketball club. Now we've got 470 kids. A place and a group of youth workers, and this woman said, oh, look, I think Les has been unique because he's brought entrepreneuring to youth work. And I never thought of it like that, but basically I had to create things so that these kids could benefit. In my case, it's probably a bit different because I've got such a high public profile. It does add extra stresses, you know. I get stalked, I have the syndrome of the tall poppy stuff. I was out celebrating a birthday some years ago with my wife, and in this posh restaurant that I'd been shouted to, and someone saw me there and yelled out, what's Les Twentyman doing in here? He should be out in the gutter with the homeless. So, you know, I have to understand that I'm basically a brand, and so that brings about added tension, particularly in Victoria, but in other parts of Australia, you know, you've got to be aware all the time of that sort of focus. But on the other side is that's how I've been able to bring, you know, the money into the organisation.
Yeah, I do see him as Les as a father of the West for sure, definitely, because he does. He looks after all these kids, all us adults. You know, like he is just like a father that if you didn't have one, well, Les will be there for you because I think he's been, you know, done the struggles as well and sees how it is, and I don't know, he's just got a massive heart, that man, and I don't know, almost making me want to cry because yeah, he's just done so much for us.
When I had the former Chief Commissioner, Ken Lay, on the street with me, when he came to the basketball, he couldn't believe all these kids from different ethnic backgrounds, all sort of so happy, and you know, and he said, it's fantastic. I said, yeah, it's 30 years it's taken to evolve it.
It's great here. I love this place. I'll stay here all day. Like, I'm happy to stay here all day.
There's an old saying, once you swim in the depths of the ocean, you should never be afraid to fly. And these kids have, that's why they take the opportunity, the leadership and the basketball, because they've been swimming in the depths and we have given them the opportunity to put some wind under their wings to fly. My father always said I wouldn't work on an iron lung, but I always knew that unless I was able to get the story out, then people weren't able to help me help them. And so, as uncomfortable as it's been, at the end of the day, kids go to school, kids are playing basketball, kids are in leadership groups, and that can only come by good people. If you're not part of the solution, then you're definitely part of the problem. Communities and society falls apart when good people do nothing. Prepared for some of this camera show.